engine rolling. Saw Trevor do really well this year. Obviously, Joey B's the greatest quarterback in the NFL. This is his third year. Patty, Josh, etc. Right? Who do we think at their third year mark will be the best quarterback out of these SEC greats from this draft? We've got Bryce Young, obviously, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, then the walk-on, Stetson Bennett. Who do you got, Stevie Steve, as your guy for the third year? Look, this one you could go in multiple directions here. I'm going to let you go first because I don't want to give you the right answer.
No. Well, the right answer being that we don't know what the answer is, considering they haven't actually thrown a ball yet.
I have the right answer.
Oh, do you? Okay, fantastic. No, look, I'm going to go with Will Levis. I think if you look at the style of football that he played, I think it's the easiest transition. Richardson clearly struggled in reading defenses. I mean, he threw a couple of games away for you guys and just being able to put the ball in the wrong team's hands. Look, I like Bryce Young. I think he's athletic. I think he's also just a Tua incarnate, and I don't think that Tua's really translated all that well. Stetson, yeah, I just don't look. This guy doesn't have the arm strength. He won by sheer will of wanting to win, and he won by experience because I don't know. He's 25 years old and he had more game experience than anybody else. So if I have to look at all three or all four of them, I'm going to take Levis to make the easiest transition from college to pro.
Okay. I like that. So what they have these guys mock draft right now, and that's where my decision kind of really came down to, is where are they going to end up? What organization is going to take them? If Texans were going to take any of these guys, I would have been hesitant to say they would be up there. But none of them at the moment are projected to land there. Stetson's the only one we don't know where he's going to land, which leaves a question mark on him, but I'm going to get to that. Right now, Bryce Young is projected to go to Indy. I don't hate that. I feel like he could be the guy that kind of saves Indy. They have a great running back with Jonathan Taylor. Wide receiver core could use some love, but they've got a great O-line, obviously, with the success of Jonathan Taylor. They did have a lot of downfall this year, which could put them back a step or two. So that concerns me a little bit that Bryce Young's going to have to go in and be the guy. Do I think he can go in and be the guy like a Bryce or like a Joey Burrow? I don't know. I'm not sold on him. So 3 years in Indy, could he bring Indy back to what, the Peyton Manning days? Not quite sure. Will Levis, this was a surprising one to me. I thought Will was going to end up in Texan, but they've got him penned to go to Seattle. Changed my opinion very, very much when I saw that, because him getting with Pete Carroll and that Seattle, who's a heavy defense, always has great running backs, great offensive line, with in my opinion, a great head coach. I think Pete Carroll gets slept on. I think we'll do wonders with Will Levis. It's been a long time since they've had a number one draft pick because they got Russell Wilson late, or early. I should say, an early pick. I should say. Or no, Russell wasn't with first round. He was a late guy, right? He was a steal. He was one of those guys that.
He was way late. Yeah, we the Jaguars drafted a punter before. That's right. Seattle drafted Russell Wilson.
Look, it'll be interesting to see. I think that kind of. I had someone else's number one, but it bumped Will Levis, so I'm going to come back to that. Anthony going to the Panthers does not excite me at all. I feel like they're going to just throw him out there to die, and it's not the place for him to go. I could be wrong. Look, but this is my thought for year 3. I think it's the worst case scenario for him. Stetson Bennett has a noodle for an arm. I know that. However, if he ends up on a team like San Fran, he will ball out, and he will look like Brock Purdy if he finds himself on a team like the San Francisco 49ers, how they're built right now. They're not the only team that's built like that, okay? But if they can get himself surrounded by big tight ends, a great running back, which is what he's at now, I think he will do a great job. And I think by year 3, because he won't be thrown into the fire like the other 3 that I just mentioned will be, he might find himself just kind of dropped in to a pretty healthy starting position where that's the part I don't know. And look, Stetson to me gives me a good vibe that he could be somebody that just comes out of nowhere and it's like, damn, he actually is getting it done. There's something that he has that you can't measure that isn't on a stat chart, and that's that dog in him. He's got a chip from being a walk-on, and to me, that speaks volumes. So I'm between Stetson Bennett and Will Levis. Again, if Will goes to the Seahawks, it gives me a huge upgrade because I believe what Pete Carroll can do. I believe what he does with quarterbacks. I believe in the system that he builds, and he builds kind of what we just talked about, where he builds a strong running game, a strong defense, and allows the quarterback to slowly kind of get into rhythm. I mean, Geno Smith had a successful year. So if that tells you anything on what he's able to do. And look, that's not a knock
Yeah,
towards
and if you
Geno.
remember him from the Jets, that was an awful,
Yeah,
awful
exactly,
situation for Geno
exactly.
Smith.
And Geno
Yeah.
sat behind, for a lot of guys for a very long time. But look, you guys say Stetson's too small, and I hear you, and I get all that. But you don't go win back-to-back college championships just because the team around you. That team lost 22 people to the NFL draft. We got to stop the narrative that Stetson Bennett's trash, because the only reason why we're calling him a trash is because he was a walk-on, he wasn't a 5-star, and because he's tiny. That's the only reason why. The guy has won when it's mattered most, and he's balled out and showed out and hit his throws when it's mattered. We have to give credit to him until it's taken away. The narrative of that he's overrated and that he sucks, it's getting old, and there's no really rhyme or reason to it, in my opinion. And I know I'm gonna get flack because I'm over here defending his ass, but that's my thoughts on that. That's where
From a size standpoint, there's not a lot of difference between a Drew Brees and a Stetson Bennett. I want to say that they're very similar in size, stature, and just overall build. Drew Brees certainly bulked up a little bit once he got into the league, which you would expect that to happen. But he was a little bit of a skinny kid coming out of Purdue. I mean, he wasn't as thick as he was when he was playing towards the middle to latter half of his career. Now, look, I'm not saying that the guy, the Bennett, can even claim to have the arm that Drew Brees did. But I could say that he has some of the same characteristics of a Jay Cutler. If you guys want to go back a little bit further, when Cutler was at Vandy, Cutler was carving people up, right? He was out there with no talent around him. He was a skinny kid. He had a strong arm, but he was still finding ways to win games with not a lot of talent around him. Now it's a flip when you talk about Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett has a ton of talent, but the guy still knows how to win games. Like at the end of the day, he knows how to win a damn game. And he had a couple of plays against TCU where he had to put his own self out there, and he was making runs, and he wasn't just back there just relying on 5-star talent. Give the guy some credit. Like he's won a lot of games, he's done it because he knows how.
He's tiny. He's gonna have a struggle, but until I'm proven wrong, I'm gonna support him. But I think Will Levis is gonna have the edge. I think in year 3, I think he's gonna have the most success, even over CJ Stroud. I know we were kind of doing the SEC, but I think Will Levis really has his pulse. He reminds me of Josh Allen, where he's going to come in, he's a grinder, he's big, he runs cats over, he's not afraid to run the ball. So giving very Josh Allen vibes. And I mean that by he's going to choke in the big games, but he's still going to be successful.